And people started noticing I was losing a bit of weight and asking me how I was doing it. And so I told them. And of course, a lot of horrified faces. Uh, oh, you're weird.
Christine, how did you find carnivore?
Well, I found it like quite a few people. I found it through keto. And I've been doing keto and intermittent fasting for several months. And I had lost a little bit of weight, but nothing of any great consequence. And I was going to be going to England to see my grandchildren in the June, and this was about Christmas time. And as usual, you eat what you're not supposed to eat. And with me, I had such a sweet tooth. My husband will tell you I was just addicted to sugar. Absolutely. Um, Pavlova being my favourite, and lemon meringue pie. And somehow came across Dr. Berry, and that was through keto. I was looking for keto stuff on YouTube and found him. And then suddenly I realized that he wasn't doing keto. He was doing the real food diet, which is what he calls it now. And he used and about carnivore. And the more I listened to what he had to say, and I've never really liked vegetables very much. And then I watched Dr. Chafee on how plants are trying to kill you. And my husband is into vegetables. He's a retired farmer and had made the most wonderful veggie patch for us, but it was mainly for him because I'm very fussy about what I eat with vegetables. And I'm not even a fruit eater. So in actual fact, I think my body's been telling me for ever since I was young. The only vegetables I would eat as a child was processed peas out of a tin. So, um, no, the only fruit I ever enjoyed, really, well, not enjoyed, but would eat, was bananas. Um, but my husband would eat 2 or 3 pieces a day of fruit, usually one, but sometimes two, and occasionally three. So he would have been putting weight on, and there's 9.5 years between us. He's younger than me. I'm a bit of a cougar, and um, yeah, we met 29 years ago, and we've been together that long. And yeah, he's still putting up with me, but he was putting weight on, and this has never happened to him. He's always been very active, very living on a farm at Carnivore and Three Springs. So he was used to running around and keeping very fit. But here we're only on 5 acres, although he's still active at 60. What is he now? 67. Yes, because I'm 77 in April. Yeah. So he was putting weight on. And so I started to talk to him about carnivore. I had talked to him a bit about keto, but we had been doing for about 2 years up to that point intermittent fasting because it suited our lifestyle. I had just said to him, we don't have to eat at lunchtime. That was a thing we did on the farm, 12:30 lunch. And then he'd have his pop flop and then he'd go back out to work. But we were retired, and I said, we don't have to eat like that. Can we try this intermittent fasting? So that was a couple of years ago. And then, so we did that, and we did lose a bit of weight, but then it just plateaued and didn't go anywhere. And then I was on and off keto for a little while, but it was very hard for me to follow on. And again, I was having to eat vegetables, which again doesn't suit me, doesn't suit my style. And yeah, and Grant was growing all this lovely stuff. So a neighbour and him were working together on both their veggie patches. So I was feeling really guilty about this idea of going carnivore. But he said he went into keto carny. On the 1st of January 2023, we started. And we thought we'd go week by week, to be honest. We thought, okay, we'll go week by week, see how it goes. And if it doesn't work if we don't like it, we'll stop. We'll try something else. But the more I listened to videos about it and read about it and found a whole group of people doing it on Facebook, and it just kind of and it was suddenly so easy. And I think everybody says that, don't they? And it is. It's just so simple. And I've been right into cooking ever since I met Grant, and being a farmer's wife, and I had my 2 stepdaughters, and who were very young. So I was cooking and doing all the farmers' wives stuff. And I started steadily put weight on from that point on. But the carnivore itself was just so damn simple. And I don't have to cook much anymore. I don't have to. I've got, like Paul said yesterday, I was watching his Chicken Little. I was watching that yesterday. Got all these pots and pans and things, and I tend to just use the fry pan, a skillet, a Dutch oven, but I've also got a Ninja Foodie. I don't know whether you've ever heard of Ninja Foodies, but I do most of my cooking in the Ninja Foodie. And because we're on solar and we're trying to, we have to use the sun at certain times of the day. So I can take a frozen chook out. Sorry, English people, that means chicken. And put it in the Ninja pressure cook it. Then roast it, and it's done. I don't have to put anything else with it. We just have the chicken, and it's easy. My husband's still doing a little bit of veggies, not very often. But then I started reading about, and I've been into probiotics and prebiotics for 20 odd years. I had IBS, and I have kept my IBS at bay with probiotics and prebiotics. So we like sauerkraut, kimchi, all the pickles, stuff like that. So that's the way Grant eats now. He eats meat if he's in the mood for something with that, he'll have sauerkraut or pickles or something like that. So it really does help him stay with the carnivore. And he stopped eating fruit. When I told him about fructose in fruit and how it makes fatty liver and does so much harm to us, it's the fructose, not just sugar. And he thought, oh, I'm all right, I'm eating fruit. She's eating all the sugar stuff, so that's why she's fat. but he loved all his home cooked pies and pastries and cakes and everything else. But he was healthy because he was eating fruit and veggies. And so when we stopped doing that and we started carnivore on the 1st of January, I went cold turkey. I went totally cold turkey. And at 75, I was then, a bit drastic, but I do everything cold turkey. I stopped smoking many, many years ago, cold turkey. So, yeah, I do everything cold turkey. And Grant did this little bit of veggies, and and the occasional piece of fruit. But it wasn't very long before he stopped doing both of those because he was feeling so much better and energized. And what I think at my age, I definitely had brain fog. And wasn't all the time, but memory, not that crash up. And expecting that because as a psych nurse, I'm thinking, oh, I'm going to get dementia. I'm going to get it, whether I like it or not, it's going to happen. But suddenly, even after a week, 2 weeks, my head was already starting to feel clear, crystal clear, to the point that I felt like somebody had given me an injection of cocaine. And that's, I've never done, but that's how I imagined it would be to be. And I could, and my memory is good. And this is within a couple of weeks. And we started to measure ourselves. Grant did weigh himself and I weighed ourselves, but I think Dr. Berry says to measure. So we started measuring on a monthly basis. On the first of every month, we measured. And the weight dropped, but we weren't weighing ourselves, we were measuring. And it just, within 1 month, Grant went from a 111 chest measurement, that's centimeters, and he went down to 103 within 1 month. And the measurements just kept dropping and dropping and dropping. And although now it's sort of plateaued out, it seems the weight, and I think the muscle's coming on now, because suddenly he went from going right down to 99 centimeter chest, he's up to 104. But he's got muscles. Yes, he's got pectorals. His waist has stayed the same. He hasn't put any extra centimeters on his waist since we plateaued out, and his hips are the same. But a total weight, he's now at 70 kilos, and I'm just looking at my little thing here, and I think he lost 18 kilos altogether.
Wow.
Yeah, it's really good, really good. And he feels amazing, and he's sleeping better. He's a snorer, so we've actually got separate bedrooms now. I said, I've had enough of this, dear. Love you very much, but I'm going in the spare room. And he said, no, I'll go to the spare room. You have this bedroom. And that's what we've done since. But our sleep wasn't that crash hot. He was doing a lot of waking up in the middle of the night and not being able to get back to sleep. But on this, he sleeps really well. And he's not having as long an afternoon nap now, I noticed. I've never done a nap. I've never been a nana nap person. And so that hasn't, I always think, save your sleep for nighttime. But Grant probably sleeps on an average of 5 or 6 hours a night, which is a huge improvement for him. And I'm sleeping a good 8 hours, and it's just awesome. And I still have to get up for a pee, but not as often as I was. So the carnivores that had an effect on that as well. So as you're aging, all these things that I was experiencing suddenly changed. And I go to water aerobics twice a week, and people started noticing I was losing a bit of weight and asking me how I was doing it. And so I told them. And of course, a lot of horrified faces. Oh, you're weird, oh, I couldn't do without my veggies. I live on my veggies. I love my veggies. I love my fruit. And I said, well, if you could just try it for a week or two, which is what I did. But here we are, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months into it, and the weight was dropping off me. And the measurements that I mean, I can tell you my measurements went from, I mean, you've seen the photos. Um, I lost 18 centimeters off my hips. I lost 12 centimeters off my waist, and I lost 16 centimeters off my boobs, off my chest. And that's the same now, even though we plateaued out, that stayed the same. So we plateaued out about 3 or 4 months ago, and we probably are a bit more relaxed carnivore now, but we still mainly are meat based. We eat bacon, every kind of meat, fish, chicken, pork, lamb. Grant's a great lamb lover, and of course we were lamb farmers. And but cooking is just is no longer. And I must say this: and I have tried every single diet under the sun, and you become food obsessed during diets, and you can't wait for the next meal. Well, we're still doing intermittent fasting. We don't eat till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. We have a snack around about 7 o'clock, but not always, just sometimes. And then we don't eat again till 2 o'clock the next day. And at our 2 o'clock meal,
Wow.
yeah, so we're doing 18-6, which if anyone's doing intermittent fasting, they know what that means. 18 hours, so you're not actually eating. And yesterday on Aussie Carnivores, somebody was talking about they'd had their gallbladder removed, and how can you go with carnivore and you haven't got a gallbladder anymore? And I answered that because I had my gallbladder taken out several years ago, and I haven't had any issues with it at all, because I know for a fact that your liver itself has got bile ducts and produces bile all by itself. But what it needs is time. So this intermittent fasting gives me that time, my body that time to and the liver to do its job. So having no gallbladder has never been an issue at all for me. And yeah, I can't. I think, and I do know this. Everybody that I've ever spoken to, and they show some interest in it, they immediately look for find an excuse. Oh, I've got thyroid problems. I've got a gallbladder. I've got no gallbladder. And I say, well, I haven't either, and I'm doing it. I haven't got thyroid problems, but there are ways of getting through that. And there are this stuff with Dr. Berry and other doctors online on YouTube that that actually talk about that problem and how you can still do this. And you've met them. We've all met them, and you have a big trouble with it in Japan, I believe. That they're Japanese, so they can't do carnivore.
There's, I think it's just this way that unless someone's ready for it right now, there's always an excuse. There's always some reason we can't do it, unless it's at the point where, okay, well, I need to try something different now.
Yeah, and I must admit that's exactly how we were. We were both ready to do something, and even though I'd tried all this other stuff before, and we honestly did do it week by week at first, and then it went from, and then suddenly it's like now we can't think of never being on it, or we'll be on this forever now, because we just feel so well and energized. I'd got to the point with my back and I've got stenosis, lower back problem for years now, and I do have pain. But it's not as bad. And my all this arthritis that I was getting in my knee, wrist, ankle. Occasionally I get them, but it's usually after water aerobics when I've been really pushing it. But at night, I'm not taking any painkillers to sleep, which I was doing every single night. I was taking osteopanadol. I was taking um, ibuprofen every single night, and that wasn't doing me any good at all. And that concerned me, and I didn't know how to change that. I thought, well, it's either that or we start talking about other opioids, and I just didn't want to go down that road because I do know that it's just the wrong way to go. So pain wise, nothing. I've got a
That's
little lower back pain. Yeah.
that's
So
awesome. So pain's 90%, would you say? 90% better?
easily,
Um, yeah,
easily.
the weight loss measurements are
Yeah.
down, brain fog's gone, sleeping better.
Yep.
And I mean, one of the number one things I think is, not much preparation time, no thinking about food, all that kind of thing, right?
That's it. Yeah. I don't even think about. Some like I have to think. Oh, what am I taking out of the freezer? Um, I and I've been going to Spud Shed lately because their meat is very reasonably priced. But I walk right past all the dairy, apart from I pick up the butter, of course, and some hard cheese. Uh, but we grow our own eggs. Well, our chickens do, um, and we eat them. And I'm not as big an egg eater as my husband. And before Carnivore, I really probably would only have a couple of eggs a week. Now most days I will have at least one or two eggs. Grant can quite easily have um, a couple of eggs or three eggs at 2 o'clock, and then he might even have a small omelette at 7 o'clock. So he's very much an egg person. He had What's surprising is this lack of need for fruit and vegetables with him. I'm just amazed because I mean me, like I said, it was easy because I didn't like them that much. Oh yeah, I'd have a handful of blueberries or something like that because Grant's been growing blueberries. Now we're giving them away, and strawberries, all those things. The other thing is I've been reading up about, and about lectins and oxalates, how they affect our bodies. And I'm certain that has made a difference to Grant because he was right into his veggies and fruit. But definitely, fructose has made a difference to his weight, I think, more than anything, because we didn't even think about fruit not being a good thing to have because we're all brainwashed by the food industry.
Right. So, just on it's easy for you to give up the fruit and vegetables because you didn't particularly like them, and I totally I understand that position. That's where I was. But from Grant's perspective, what was it that made it easy for him to give it up? Because you said you can't believe he did. So was it the weight loss? Was it the feeling better? What was the
Yes, yeah, both of those. Um, and I, th- I don't think he'd even thought he had. Well, we hadn't thought about it as being an issue until I was doing more research into it and watching Dr. Berry and um, several of the other doctors too, Dr. Paul Mason and you. So he realised that it wasn't just you didn't actually have to eat it. Whereas before, being brought up on the farm, vegetables as well as fruit, as well as meat, was all part of it. And his mum would make cakes like I did, and because that's what farmers' wives do. We cook a load of carbs. I haven't touched anything. I've got still got stuff because I'm still a farmer's wife in my head. I've still got a load of flour and sugar and stuff, and not doing any of that. I do make as a treat keto biscuits, but I've made my own recipe up now by using maple syrup, real maple syrup as the sweetener, but ground almonds, and a little bit of corn flour. And those are a treat for us. Sometimes when you have a cup of tea, you just want something with it. And we could devour a whole packet of ginger nut biscuits in one sitting. And no wonder we were fat.
So do you feel like this way of eating has given you the self-control to be able to go, okay, well, I'll just have one and then
Yeah,
I'm good?
yeah, yeah. In fact, that's I the swimming group, the water aerobics group. We have what we call Feast Fridays every so often. Everyone brings in homemade cakes and homemade biscuits and or bought stuff. And I was sitting there eating a Kransky sausage and losing weight. And they're looking at, and I've got one friend in particular says, I don't know how you can eat that crap. And yet they're sitting there eating all this other crap, biscuits and cakes and everything else, and sandwiches and and wraps, and thinking they're eating healthy.
Very
Yeah.
ironic statement. Licking
Mm.
licking cake crumbs off your fingers, saying, I don't know how you can eat that crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And yeah, I um I had bought some biscuits just before Christmas because we were having a Friday feast. I thought it was my turn, so I had one. But by the time I walked to the car, I was in agony in my stomach. I had pains in my stomach, and it's like, and I had to sit in the car for about 15 minutes before those pains would go, enough for me to drive away. So I haven't really been tempted since, apart from the keto biscuits, which I do occasionally make. But we also now summer's here, I make carnivore ice cream. Have you tried that?
No, how do you make carnivore ice cream?
There's lots of recipes online, mate. I'm not telling you mine. Take too long. But
It's like the KFC secret herbs and spices.
oh yeah, that's right. I bought a proper ice cream maker, and no, the big one, the Breville one, and so I make it in that, and we use full cream. And I have noticed with all the ingredients on different creams that some have got thickness in and some haven't. And I found the black and gold thick cream has the least in it, so I use that, and maple, a little bit of maple syrup. And I'm like you, we love our coffee. Every morning, I'm sorry, I have to have my coffee, but I have it with cream or butter, and I tend to make. I if I'm having a coffee out, I have full cream milk. So that's not really been crucial about dropping the milk, because we've always had full cream milk. I don't get why people bring cakes and biscuits to this Friday feast, and then they ask for a skinny latte.
It's the same as eating 20 Big Macs with a Diet Coke, I guess. It's
Yeah, yeah. I was in McDonald's meeting a friend the other day, and I got coffee because they do sometimes make a decent coffee. And I was waiting for her, and I was just watching the amount of, and these were big people coming in and buying McDonald's, and yeah, they've got Diet Cokes and a large chips, and like, Super Mac burger, and I'm thinking, what? And I'm not tempted at all. I don't even feel I can walk past people eating massive amounts of carbs, and I thought I would have a real problem with that, and I don't. I really don't. It is it. I look at it and I go, oh yeah, I used to eat that, and it's not
How
there.
long did it take you to get to that point?
2 weeks,
Wow, only 2 weeks. Nice.
2 weeks, 2 weeks. Definitely by the first month, but 2 weeks, and I no longer had any cravings. And I thought, and then I also watched, and I can't remember who now, but because I've watched so many of these types of it, but one person, I don't know if it was Dr. Berry or not, the higher the protein of meat that you eat, the less you do crave carbs and sugars. So that's been kind of a thing with me. I think, well, the more meat I eat, the less I'm going to want anything else and all the bad stuff. But it's just not in there, you know. The cravings, which is it's just it's just a miracle, really, because I was an addict, and I still consider myself an addict to sugar.
Uh, that's the thing. Your whole life, you have this. You're under the power of food. Food is
Mm,
controlling you your whole life, and then
mm,
So, by the way, happy anniversary. It's been a year
thank you.
now, and
Yeah.
it's like the spell is broken, right?
That's exactly right. And the spell was broken very quickly, which, if you told me that, even, if you told me that before Christmas, I would have thought, bullshit, that couldn't be. Um, but yeah, it really does work. And uh, yes, at the beginning, we avoided going out and eating or being around people. And that was just to be sensible. But now it doesn't bother us. We can sit in a cafe and we can have coffee, and that's all we'll have. Whereas before, it was the coffee and cake and coffee or coffee and pies and coffee and something. And now we can just quite easily just have the coffee. I'd like to give you a kind of idea of the things that we've noticed physically, if you're interested. One of the strange things is a few years ago now, I noticed that I was getting ridges on my nails, and I couldn't find much out about it. Some people said it was arthritic and everything else, but they're nearly all gone. I've got a couple of ridges, but they were really, really ridged, all my nails. And my tongue, Grant's tongue, isn't coated. Every morning you feel like there's a coating on your mouth, and you clean your teeth and you clean your tongue. But I don't get that anymore. Now, a really, really weird thing that Grant noticed, and he said to me, I don't think I'm producing any earwax. And I said, now I sleep with earplugs in my ears every night because it was the only way I could sleep with him, and now I've got used to it. So I sleep with earplugs in. And I had noticed because there was no earwax on my actual earplugs, but I hadn't taken note of it. And so earwax, where's that gone? My tinnitus I still have tinnitus, and Grant hasn't noticed any difference in his tinnitus, but mine is so low now. I hardly notice it. Grant had terrible halitosis. We tried everything, probiotics, mouthwashes, everything, and he still would have bad halitosis. No halitosis now. I quite happily kiss him. Absolutely. um, we've talked about the other things. My night vision. I have been night blind for years. I really hated going outside in the dark. Grant would have to hold my hand. I couldn't see very much in, but now I don't. I've got great night vision. I've got normal. I think it's perfectly normal eye night vision. Um, the other thing is I had vertigo, and I do still occasionally get vertigo, but I had an attack of it 2 weeks ago. But before that, I hadn't had it for months and months. So that's in my DNA. My mother had it. All her families had vertigo, and they're all in Kent. So if they're in listening, go on to Carnivore. You can get rid of that bloody vertigo. And
so when you do get it, is it improved from what it was like before?
Oh, as long as I lie down quite quickly, it goes away quite quickly. So yeah, it's I suppose it's still there because I've got an inner ear thing, but it doesn't affect me now. So that's definitely there. The other thing is I was prone to kidney stones, and I haven't had a kidney problem at all since I've been doing carnivore. There's no so my uric acid level must have gone down, and here we are hearing on these anti meat people who are saying that meat makes you acidic. Sorry, how come I haven't got gout? How come I haven't got kidney stones anymore? And
yeah, it's very easy to blame meat for what the sugar, fructose, and alcohol does to you. You know.
Yeah. Well, we make our own gin, and we have a gin and tonic most Fridays. We've done that all the way through, but we know what's in it, and we have a little bit of tonic water in it, and that's our treat again. I think if you can allow yourself some of this stuff, it you know the worst thing you do to me is to deprive me of something, and if you deprive me of something, then I want it more. But we'll have not every Friday, but some Fridays we'll have a gin and tonic, but it's our own gin. I won't tell you about the percentage of that gin.
Nice. So I'm interested when you've gone to water aerobics or to social events, and friends are like, "What's happened? Wow, this is amazing! You've lost so much weight, etc., etc." And then you say, "Well, it's this steak that's doing it actually," and they're all like, "Oh, I could never do that." Is there anyone that's gone, "I'm going to give that a try"?
Only one person, sadly, and that's my dog groomer, Stevie Lee. And I would love it for you to interview her. She has an amazing story. I can send that to you. I'll talk to her first about it.
Yeah,
But
yes, please. But
yeah,
she's stuck with it.
Oh my God. And the difference in her, she's lost weight, yes. She didn't have to lose much weight because she was already slim. But her skin, I think she's in her late 30s, early 40s. Her skin, or maybe I'm wrong, I don't know, but her skin is beautiful. It's glowing. She's glowing. She's got energy. She's got children. So she does dog grooming from home. And she started doing it almost straight away after I saw her. I was into it for about a month and a half, and I hadn't seen her before, and she said, "You've lost weight." and I got talking about it. Now, she has struggled with dietary problems for years and years. She's a Victorian like you, but she moved to WA. She was sensible, and she started doing it and talked to her husband about it, and he wasn't very keen. But now he's doing it, and he's lost weight. So that's the only person out of my friends, and she doesn't even go to water aerobics. She's my dog groomer. But everyone else thinks I'm crazy, and they don't believe you, even though I've lost 22 kilos, and they can see it right in front of their eyes. And when I was away in England, I got a kidney infection, and they all jumped on that. They all said, "Oh, it's because the way she's eating." I got told that.
Yeah, it's like any sickness is now going to be down to the diet. It's that's
Absolutely.
carnivore. Yeah, carnivore.
Mm.
Yeah.
And yet they can see they've got the proof in front of their eyes, and they see me eating these Kransky sausages I have my, because it's when we finish it's near enough my lunchtime anyway, so that I consider that part of my lunch. I have a coffee and I have a Kransky sausage with a cheese in it, and they're all sitting there looking at me, and not it, it no, they're not interested, even though quite a few of them need to lose weight, but they're not interested. And I've given up talking to them about it, or anyone really, unless I see a real glint of interest. I don't bother, because they're not. Like you say, you've got to be in the right space.
Mm.
And I say, if you're interested, yeah, there's plenty about it online on YouTube. There is so many. I give them a few doctors' names. But now I'm only going to be talking to people, like I talk to Stevie about it when I take the dog to get groomed, and she tells me what she's been doing and everything and who she talks to. But she's having the same thing. And you know what it's like. It's a shame that they won't even give it a couple of weeks. At least that's what we
Yeah.
were doing.
It's
Give it a couple of weeks.
it's just if you want to call it programming, the programming is just so
Yes,
strong. It's
it
like you
is.
go. I mean, you go to see a doctor, and the doctor will say to you, "Oh, I'm a bit worried about this diet. You need to be eating a balanced diet." And the doctor's sitting there obese in their chair, and they're saying, even though you're feeling the best you ever have in your life, you should be eating like me. It's
Yeah,
really, really. But I mean, that's the
I,
programming people have got all their lives, right?
that's right. And considering that the food pyramid was invented by the food industry and not any health services, and people are still believing that. And yeah, and this, oh, I love my veggies, I love my fruit. So what? If you're suffering from all these aches and pains, and you've got weight on you, and you can't think clearly, why not give it give it a
Mm.
month of your life?
That's
And
that's a good point. The so what? Because that'd be almost like, saying, "Well, I love my cocaine." Yeah, but look at what
yes,
it's doing to you. Look at what it's doing to you.
I know. One of the other things that is, we were just talking about it yesterday, is how calm we feel. Um, I, I've got to admit to the fact that we do take magnesium, and we've done that for some years. Because the other thing to tell you is that I had heart arrhythmias problems, and I had an ablation, and they put me onto a medication. I had a choice between medication or a heart starter thing. What do you call them? So I went for the medication. Then I find out from my chemist that what cures you will kill you, because it attacks your liver. So he said, "Will you please go on to magnesium?" And so I've been doing that ever since. and I still take that. And I take D3 with K2 because for my bones, and I take vitamin E occasionally. But we were taking like every vitamin under the sun before. I no longer have high blood pressure. My blood pressure is 118/78, and I'm 76 years old, and no medication. And my dear doctor, if you're watching, I do carnivore. I'm not just doing keto. I lied.
What was the reaction from your doctor when you said keto?
Oh, that's good.
Oh,
That's
okay.
good. That's good.
Oh,
That's
okay.
keto is acceptable. Then
Uh,
I moved it on to keto carne, and that was fine. As long as it looks like I'm having some veggies, because that's what keto does. But I haven't told her that I'm totally carnivore. I have told another doctor that I go to see in Mandurah that I'm carnivore, and he's a South African doctor, and I thought he might be very interested in it because he's a little bit overweight himself. And I've told him, I wrote all these doctors down for him to look him up on YouTube, but I haven't seen him for a while, since back in May, so I don't know whether or not he's bothered. But my own GP, I haven't told her till now. And if she's watching YouTube and watching me, yes, sorry, Mary. I'm totally carnivore.
Hi, Mary. So, Christine, do you have an Instagram or a Facebook or YouTube if people want to reach out to you?
I do have Instagram, yes, and I do have Facebook. I'm under this name and I also belong to Aussie Carnivores and Perth Carnivores. But yeah, I've got to say, leading a calm, easy life with Carnivore, why would you want to do anything else? If you give it a month and you find it's working, give it another month and keep going for as long as it's working for you. Here we are, a year down the track, and there's no way we want to go back to eating the shit that you lot are.
Wise words. Well, Christine, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story with us. I really appreciate it.
And it's been an absolute pleasure, Dave, and lovely to talk to you. And I hope that we should have a seminar over here in WA, and you come to that, and we could all have a get together, because I know there's quite a few people in Perth doing it, and that's the thing. That's another little thing I'd like to put in. Guess what, guys? There's thousands of us doing it now. Thousands. So, and we haven't got scurvy, and we're all feeling extremely well, and we've all lost weight, and we're all feeling fit. Give it a chance. What have you got to lose?
So, Christine, hang on a second. This is the third time.